Good evening. Now, you might think I've stumbled into Santa's workshop, but this is actually my neighbour's front garden. Yes, they do this every year, which is incredible. If you'd like to know a little bit more, please get in touch with me. They are collecting money for cancer research, so it's lovely that people can come and have a look at all the beautiful lights. But you might think I've lost my mind when we go to today's reading, which is John chapter 19, verses 1 to 11, where Jesus is sentenced to be crucified. Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. The soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They clothed him in a purple robe and went up to him again and again, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they slapped him in the face. Once more Pilate came out and said to the Jews gathered there, "Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no basis for a charge against him." When Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, Pilate said to them, "Here is the man." As soon as the chief priests and their officials saw him, they shouted, "Crucify, crucify." But Pilate answered, "You take him and crucify him. As for me, I find no basis for a charge against him." The Jewish leaders insisted, "We have a law, and according to that law, he must die, because he claimed to be the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he was even more afraid, and he went back inside the palace. "Where do you come from?" he asked Jesus. But Jesus gave him no answer. "Do you refuse to speak to me?" Pilate said. "Don't you realize I have power either to free you or to crucify you?" Jesus answered, "You would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin." Now, at the time of Jesus, the Jews were under the rule of the Romans, and part of that meant that only Romans could issue death sentences. This is recorded in the book of Jewish law, the Talmud, which states, 40 years before the destruction of the temple, judgment in matters of life and death was taken away from Israel. And Roman governors were said to have the power of life and death put into their hands by Caesar himself. Incidentally, had the Jews been allowed to pass sentence, the death penalty would have been death by stoning. Now, in this passage, Pilate, despite being the one with the power, relinquishes his responsibility, leaving Jesus to the mercy of the crowd and the Jewish leaders. Was Pilate trying to placate the Jewish leaders? He didn't have the best track record as governor, and after raiding temple coffers to build an aqueduct, he feared the Jewish leaders may report him to Rome. Was he afraid for his job, his position? As with many people who achieve a position of power, he wanted to keep it. Yet it seems that he feels sorry for Jesus. On hearing that Jesus is guilty of flouting Jewish law, it seems that Pilate tries to help him by asking him where he comes from and urging him to speak, stating that he has the power to free him. Or is it that he thought there was something to the claim that Jesus was God? Being Roman, Pilate would have worshipped Caesar as a god, along with the many other deities of their multi-deity religion. However, it is a religion built much on superstition and the premise of pleasing or displeasing the gods. If Jesus were a god and Pilate put him to death. Would this be a bad omen? Perhaps, because of course there was no if about it. And nothing is heard of Pilate after the death of Emperor Tiberius. Coincidence? This strange phrase that Pilate has only been given power and authority over Jesus because God wills it, as Tom Wright says, it seems as though Jesus believed God bestows power on those who hold office, but recognises that they will be held account, proportionate to that power, as to how they exercise it, either for good or ill of others. How do we think Pilate fared? This accountability is true of all those in power. In the church, in business, in parliament, all will be held to account according to sacrificial love. Humility, self-sacrifice, and conscientious commitment to acts of service are the hallmarks of God's power, not posturing, pontificating, or empty promises. God keeps his promises to us, the proof of which is all around us. You might think it's odd to speak about the crucifixion in the shadow of the manger and Father Christmas, but the two are intrinsically linked. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. So as we enter the Christmas week, with all the joy of carol services, the excitement of seeing family, the love that we'll share with them, and the beauty of crazy light shows, we remember the gift that Jesus gave. His sacrifice for us is as much a part of the Christmas story as that of his birth. We can't have one without the other. The Nativity and the Passion together are the greatest story ever told. The story of the power of God's love. Enjoy the rest of your evening.